welcome everyone. Thank you very much to the organization committee for this great and wonderful theme song. I think we are in the mood for Web3 2021. And with all this Italian virtual accent, it's fantastic. So welcome. I would like to thank our speakers for today. They proposed some very interesting presentations for the 9th edition of the industrial use cases track here at the Web3 conference. So it's something that I'm very honored to, I would say, to host again this year. That's true that it's something that I would like to promote, and thanks to the whole Web3 community, we are able to do, and thanks to our presenters today, we are able now to show that there is industrial use, I would say, in different aspects, of course. It could be use cases, it could be in terms of technologies. Web3D technologies today are providing very, very efficient and effective tools to the whole community. So thank you again to our presenters today. I propose that we start quite now, in fact, to have enough time. So we have wait a little bit to be sure that we have all our attendees. As I mentioned before, I'm with 20 students in computer science here in Paris in the EFRE Computer Science School. And so I think we will have a lot of questions for our speakers today. So I hope so, and I will put some bonus. So it's for my students, sorry. Let's start our session today. So I would like to introduce very briefly Rajesh. So Rajesh, I will say just a few words about your background. You are very experienced in CAD, so computer-aided design, and you have an impressive background. So yeah, you have studied in India. You have a lot of experience in UK, in US, and you have founded in 2005 Prototech Solutions. And you will today present some of your, I would say, deliverables and high-end solution. So Rajesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Christophe. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Rajesh Bhartiya, founder and CEO of Prototech Solutions. Here's my brief introduction. I have a multidisciplinary engineering background, and since last 2 decades, I have helped design and develop numerous 3D applications spanning various domains such as design, manufacturing, agriculture, mining, architecture, etc. I am also a part of the leadership team at 3D MeasureUp. 3D MeasureUp is a technology platform for 3D body landmark identification and measurement extraction. Our vision is to be a perfect fit in anthropometry space. We use a combination of computational, geometrical, and machine learning techniques to achieve a very high fidelity in feature identification and a very high degree of accuracy in measurements. Today, I'm going to discuss some of the challenges that we faced with 3D body scans that are not perfectly aligned. Also, I will discuss the impact of natural body postures on automatic extraction of measurements. I will give you a very high-level overview of our approach to overcome these challenges. Before I get to that, we all know that COVID-19 has impacted almost everything that we do and the way we do. COVID-19 has had a huge impact on everything, including 3D body scanning, processing, and measurement extraction industry. The new normal of social distancing has pushed contactless measurement from being novelty to a necessity. This has become a need for masses now. I'll take my own example. I had never bought a single piece of cloth, be it a suit, my running shorts, or even socks online in my entire life. Now since March 2020, I have bought everything online. There are many like me who have been pushed from retail to e-tail. To tap this market, there is a huge increase in the number of 3D scanning devices and methods. Some are more traditional hardware using booths and turntables. On the other hand, handheld hardware scanners are on the rise and getting into hands of more and more people. New generation Apple devices such as iPad Pro 12 already has a LiDAR sensor which does a decent job of capturing the world in 3D. Amazon's Halo Band, a sub-$100 wearable device, claims to create accurate 3D scans from photographs. On the software side, there is an extensive research and development done on converting 2D photos to 3D scans. Application of computer vision, image processing, and machine learning has greatly enhanced the fidelity of this conversion. All this only means that we now have a variety of sources for input for 3D body processing. And when you have different sources and methods, you also have different problems. So let's talk about some of those challenges. With any 3D scan, the first major issue that we face is of alignment. There can be various types of misalignment. Out of those, the most common one is likely to be the coordinate system mismatch. Though there is an ISO standard on this, we found that each scanner has its own choice of which axis will be along the height of the person. This is usually the case with the booth-based or turntable scanners. The fix for this is obviously very simple. It's a transformation. But then the OBJ format does not have the axis information in it, and hence we have to detect the orientation of the body ourselves. For this, we need to identify the primary features of the body. Another harder problem related to alignment is when the scan is generated using handheld scanner and there is a slight tilt or twist in the facing of the subject towards the camera. Quite often these are minor shifts and are imperceptible to a human eye, but they can cause significant deviations in the measurements. To conduct this study, we chose a sample set of about 30 models of different sizes, shapes and postures. I am using a sample set of 4 scan models for illustration purposes here. The bodies were standing in different poses, mostly facing the camera when loaded and tilted either to the left or right. We measured the back shoulder width of actual subject manually. Then we measured the same automatically but did not align the model. As you can see from the results, it is observed that there is a deviation of 4% to 8% in the back shoulder width measurement from the actual measurement depending upon the misalignment. The cause of the deviation was due to the error in locating the shoulder landmarks. Some models were just slightly misaligned, not detectable by the human eye, yet a difference of about an inch was observed. In 3D measure-up, we use an iterative geometric technique to solve this problem of alignment. We apply the best fit plane method, which is similar to best fit curve in 2D. The best fit plane for the set of vertices for a human body scan corresponds to the coronal or frontal plane. The coronal plane of the measurement system is along the XY plane. The transformation matrix required to align the coronal plane of the scan with the coordinate system can be found using a similar matrix manipulation. This transformation matrix is then applied to the human scan to align it with our measurement coordinate system. This method has been found reliable for bodies of all shapes, sizes, and postures. It is observed that this method is less computationally intensive as well. There is some additional processing required to detect whether the model is facing away from the camera or flipped upside down or both, in which case the model just needs a 180-degree rotation along the y-axis or x-axis depending on the situation. The same sample set was measured again. This time, the measurements were extracted after applying auto alignment using the previously described technique. As you can see, the deviation in back shoulder width got reduced to less than 2% and measurements generated are much closer to the manual measurements. The landmarks most affected by misalignment are the shoulder points, side neck points, armpits, etc. Since these are primary landmarks for most of the measurements and girths, overall reliability of the measurements depend a lot on their accurate detection. Thus, it is very critical to have the scans automatically aligned perfectly before we extract the measurements. Here's a short video which demonstrates the problem and the fix using 3D MeasureUp. The model on the left side is a raw body scan which is not aligned perfectly. On the right side, we use auto align button to realign the scan correctly. We can see the difference in measurements of the back shoulder width. It's almost 3/4 of an inch. You can also see how the back shoulder line is incorrect on the left side and how it gets fixed when the model is aligned perfectly. Now let's move on to the next major problem in automatic extraction of measurements, which is related to variation in posture of the subjects. Traditional measurement extraction systems have heavily relied on highly constrained standard poses such as A or T. As I described earlier, there is a surge in number of sources that capture body scans, and it's not possible to guarantee a perfect A or T pose. Not only that, most of the measurement extraction techniques have based their algorithms assuming bodies of perfect and symmetrical proportions. This is not the case. Scoliosis is a relatively common condition that causes the spine to curve and rotate in a C or S shape instead of a straight line. It is estimated that curves greater than 10 degrees are seen in approximately 3% of the population. There are plenty more variations in postures, such as stoop posture, hollow back, slumped or rounded shoulders. When working with body scans and their measurements, one thing we realize is that it is very critical to extract the body measurements of people in their natural postures. Imagine you are getting a new suit. If you get yourself measured in an A pose, you will definitely get a perfect fitting suit for yourself when you are standing in A pose. But how often you are going to be standing in A pose? For a good fitting suit, the measurement ought to be taken when you are standing in your natural relaxed posture. And remember, there will be a variation in the 3D scan and the body measurements if you are scanned in A pose as against relaxed pose. How you stand in front of the scanner will surely impact shoulder measurements, chest measurements, leg and hip measurements. This table illustrates the deviation from actual measurements when we do not consider posture while extracting measurements. We compared the back shoulder width measurements produced using algorithms and machine learning models trained for erect postures and those developed considering non-standard postures. The cases considered were stooping pose, frozen shoulder, rounded shoulder, square shoulder, and sloping shoulders. Again, we observed that there was a deviation of 2% to 8% depending on the posture. And just as in misalignment, the main cause of the deviation is due to error in locating the shoulder landmarks. To extract accurate measurements, machine learning models need to be trained for different armpit misalignments vertically as well as twist along the y-axis. To calculate the chest circumference at armpit level, the approach of inserting a horizontal plane at a landmark such as the right armpit level does not work. One option is to insert an oblique plane inserted between the left armpit and the right armpit. The other option is to take the average of girths at the left and right armpit levels. Similar corrections are required for circumferences in the thoracic region like the waist, abdomen, and hip. These problems are aggravated in case of relaxed standing pose. In 3D MeasureUp, we fix these problems by using a mix of computer vision algorithms and specifically trained machine learning models trained on such cases. Following table demonstrates the improvements that we achieved with our new approach. As you can see, there is a significant reduction in deviation, and in some cases, we have achieved nearly the perfect measurement. Though there are many more challenges related to postures, I am going to discuss one last now, which is caused by fused body parts with 3D body scan when the subject is scanned in a relaxed posture. In such scans, there are two main areas where there is a major impact on the mesh quality. the arms get fused with the torso. The fused mesh areas cause problems in identification of armpit points and upper body features. In the lower body region, the meshes around the thigh region fuse with each other and adversely impact the identification of the crotch points and hence dependent measurements like inseams. We know that these are exactly the kind of problems which the A and T poses try to circumvent. But as I explained, it creates its own set of challenges. For a comfort fit garment, the measurements need to be taken in a pose that is the natural and at ease posture of the person. A and T poses tend to make the person stand erect and raise the upper body, especially the shoulders and the chest area. The table in this shows the deviation in the chest girth and back shoulder width in the T pose, A pose and standing relaxed pose. As you can see, the deviation for chest girth can be as high as 6+%, while for back shoulder width, it can go up to 9%. We also studied the deviation of waist measurements when the subject is standing in relaxed pose. In T pose, waist measurements can be off by 8%. Bicep is another part of the body that can measure differently. When the subject is standing in relaxed pose, it also changes up to 2%. What's our approach to tackle the fused mesh? First, we identify the case of fused body features by using geometry algorithms. Once we identify these cases, the next challenge is to identify the boundaries of these fused parts. Using ML techniques, we identify the region of the body and get a context. After this, we locate the pits in the mesh to finally get the boundaries. We then extrapolate these boundaries by using side curve computation method to form a closed curve which approximately models to the human body shape. Here's a quick video which shows the problem and solution. As you can see, in the upper body region, the arms are fused with the torso, and in the lower body region, the thighs are joined. After applying our fix as I described earlier, we are correctly able to get the chest girth and the crotch length measurements using 3D measure. At 3D MeasureUp, we have faced many such interesting challenges while working with body scans and extracting accurate measurements. And we have solved them using various techniques. So what is 3D MeasureUp? We are a perfect body scan measurement platform. We do automatic landmark identification and extract 100+ measurements from 3D body scans. As I described earlier, we do automatic alignment. We also support custom landmarks and measurements. 3D MeasureUp technology can be leveraged by you in 3 different ways. As an end user, you can use our web application which runs on any platform or any device in a browser to perform standard and custom measurements. This is ideal for retail users and designers. As an OEM app, you can quickly create your own branded web application deriving from our web application. Any web developer should be able to create one in a matter of days. This is ideal for 3D scanner companies to offer their own branded measurement app with their hardware. Third, as an API, we have APIs which can be called from your application or web service. These REST APIs are very simple and easy to integrate. These are useful for companies who want to add value to their existing applications by incorporating body measurements feature. Our pricing model for all offerings are fair and usage based. We do not have any enormous setup cost. We are one of the most affordable solutions in the market today. And we take confidentiality very seriously. We use the data only and only for measurement extraction. We do not use our customer data to train our machine learning algorithms or for analytics purposes. Thank you very much, and please visit us at www.3dmeasurup.com.
So thank you very much, Rajesh, for this very comprehensive presentation of your solution. May I ask our attendees if we have some questions for Rajesh? So we have different ways. I think I'm turning to Marco. So you can ask some questions in the different chat systems. May I ask Marco if I forgot one way to ask questions or to comment?
No, you can go on. I don't see at the moment anyone like raising hands doing so. If you
I can see one question from Carol McDonald there on the chat window.
Where is it? Ah, okay, yeah.
So the question is, how would you use this for dynamic poses? So Carol, I would I might be misunderstanding the question, but you mean dynamic poses means video, right? So right now we are only supporting static scans, like 3D scans, which are not dynamic. We don't change, but we do support any posture for that matter. So videos are not. I mean, videos or multiple frames are not supported, right? And so I hope that's Carol, that provides some insight into what the answer to your question. The next one is from Dawn. I see on the chat window here. The question is, are your scans suitable for medical records and personal history trend analysis? So again, our measurements, I mean, your question is about, are our measurements suitable for medical records? So we haven't we are not certified by any institute, but we are used by orthotics companies, which are, I believe, come in the category of medical industry. So, and then yes, they can be used for personal history because the body shape changes. We can keep them and then keep find out the differences at 200 potential measurements as the body. So we have been used by fitness industry for recording just that, the shape in body change as the time progresses.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. I'm looking at my students. No, they are a bit shy today, so sorry. So Carol, you have another question. So Rajesh, I don't know if you see the question, the new question by Carol.
I can see. So Carol has asked that if someone is static running pose, could your technique be used? I guess, I mean, we identify landmarks in body using machine learning techniques. So it is kind of pose agnostic. I mean, we are, we can handle poses, and the most challenging pose is actually for us the relaxed pose, because that's where the most fused body parts, there is a maximum fusion. In running pose, I have never tested it, but from an algorithm point of view, I think we will handle it. We also handle just the partial bodies. So as I said, we are agnostic about the pose itself.
Yeah, because I was going to ask that if you think on application for custom-made dress or just sizing, you may have just maybe a frontal 3D, and it will probably enough to guess your measure, but you have an incomplete 3D model, so it's probably harder to do some of the stuff that you do if you have just the front or just a limited set of the scans. So you also tackled that problem. So you know how to work on partial scans.
The partial scan, I meant something else. I meant partial scan means just the foot scan. If you are saying just the frontal scan, no, actually that's a different problem. That means you have to rely on prediction of the body shape, right? We rely on full scans, means complete scans. I mean, they should be front and back. They should be 3D scans, like a watertight mesh. Because if the mesh is not complete, then our measurements actually are geometric. So they are as accurate as your scan. Only the machine learning only we use for identification of body features. But the measurements we extract from the 3D geometry data. So that's why we are not photo to, I mean, we do have a module where we can convert photo to a 3D scan. But again, obviously it's not going to be accurate because it's a predictive algorithm there about the body shape.
Thank you.
So I think we have a last question from Carol. Oh, two. So Rajesh, if you can choose one, I think we have 2-3 minutes more. So please, Rajesh.
Yes, so there are you looking to expand to body segments such as feet? Yes, we support foot measurement. I mean, and just use a partial scan, like just foot scan, or now we are working on hand scan. So one of the companies in US, they are leading manufacturer of orthotics. They use us and they only use foot scans. So that we support. And next question is, do you want 2 views or 3 views or front and both sides? So for scan, there is no question about views. It's a OBJ model, right, Carol? It's a 3D scan. So there is no concept of view there. But photographs, right now, we are just relying on one view, which is a frontal view. We have been working on multiple views and making it more accurate. But currently, we just support frontal view.
So
thank you.
I think, yes, it's all the questions that we have. So I would like to thank you very much, Rajesh, and I think we can, applause you because it was a very comprehensive presentation and your product is very impressive. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Christophe, for your opportunity, and thank you all for attending my presentation. I'm really honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I will introduce now our next speaker. It's Dillan. So I have prepared a little bit with Dillan what I could say to introduce him. So very quickly, so Dillan is CEO of Empava. And as you said, through Empava, you are combining your passion for storytelling through design with your background in technology and client management. Whoa. And you are based in Los Angeles, California. So welcome, Dillan. So please, you have the floor.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And Rajesh, such a cool program and software that you're building. So really cool to see that. Okay, so also before I go ahead and share my screen, I just want to say, since I'm in LA, it's 6 a.m. here. So if I trip up on any words or thoughts, please be patient or bear with me. But I'm excited to jump in and share with you guys our software. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So can everyone see my presentation here with this Web 3D slide? Guessing that's a yes. I don't hear anyone, but
yes.
Okay, cool. Christophe. Great. Just wanted someone to confirm. If we're good, I'll jump in. Okay, so data to design using 3D avatars to assess and improve business relationships. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with CRMs. That stands for Client or Customer Relationship Management software. So what Empava is doing, that's the name of our startup, is taking client data from these CRMs and converting them into these 3D animated characters and avatars. And what that's going to do is create a whole new visual way and a whole new, I guess, yeah, just visual way of conveying client data in a more effective and totally new way of looking at client information. And you're going to see exactly why and how that goes. So let's go to the next slide here. All right. So the 3 core pillars for an avatar-based CRM. So personification of data, effective computing, and gamification of work. So I'll explain through the rest of this presentation exactly what these 3 pillars mean and what they look like for Empava and the software. These are really the 3 tenets of our philosophy of why we're really excited about this and why we think it's so effective, and why it's a new way of looking at client management. So the outcome of these 3 core pillars is a more vested relationship building with more proactive client contact attentiveness and more easily conveying instant insights to your entire teams. Okay, so let's look at what current solutions look like before we get into what ours is. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? I think this is a great question. I think almost every business today uses some form of a CRM or at least an Excel spreadsheet. And we're not trying to necessarily compete with these guys and run them out of business. They do what they do well. They're here for a reason. But there's also a lot of ways in which they're lacking. I think every technology eventually goes from optimizing to evolving. If you look at these things and realize that this is the way that most people are doing business, these things, I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of ways to convey information and data really quickly. But in a lot of ways, it looks like it's due for an update. This almost to me looks like looking at someone, if you say, hey, can you email me, and they ask if they can fax it instead. I think this is how we've done things for the last 20 years, probably in online businesses and computing. And to me, that's kind of a time to say, okay, where are we going next? Especially if you look at, in the last decade, we've shifted more and more to a digital first kind of way of doing business with business clients. But even more so in the last 2 years, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, really, we've completely reworked the way we look at the future of work and how we're doing business with our clients. Everything now is online. So our philosophy is that it makes sense, if everything is online, to not just have these spreadsheets and this data insights, but to have these avatars of ourselves and of our clients online as well, to really base these relationships on that we're building with them. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is an example I just felt like it was fun to share. Obviously, I'm definitely not saying that what we're doing is any way comparable to any of these huge technologies, but I think there's a lot of similarities in looking at how, with cell phones, initially they were saying, okay, before, back in the day when we had cell phones, every new edition was just smaller and smaller. How small can we get a cell phone? Then eventually we said, okay, it's time we look at things differently. It's not just about how small we can make it in the size. When we got the iPhones and smartphones, we kind of went a different direction. Same with TVs. It's not just about, hey, how clear can we make this picture, how stable. We've got color, then we got on demand. We went in totally different direction. Same with computers. It wasn't just about how much memory we can convey or what that looks like, but once we got graphics and internet, it became a whole new ballgame. And Wi-Fi. So again, every technology eventually goes from optimizing to evolving. So if we go back here, I think we've optimized this a good amount. The optimization Salesforce, what they can do is really impressive now. But in my mind, it's time we don't just optimize, but we evolve what we're looking at. So what that looks like is going from this to this. So this is our dashboard. So what we do is we'd automatically sync a client's CRM data, say, for example, with Salesforce, if they're a Salesforce user. They already have this data, all their client information on their Salesforce platform. So we can automatically sync that to our platform, which converts the client CRM data into live 3D avatars. So Empava utilizes these 3 pillars, which we're going to talk about, to take a whole new approach to depicting and assessing client health. So this is a static image. If we have time after this, I'm happy to go into a live demo of the platform. But you can see in this example, now all my clients went from, again, looking at just a couple of names on a list here and what they do, their number, all this, into these 3D full fluid characters. You can see their health score. You can see if they're sad, if they're happy, what's going on with them. And what this does is it turns all of your clients all of a sudden from that stale spreadsheet into this powerful living environment, this living home for your clients. And they become real characters. You really start to to be aware of them and care about them and hope that they're going to smile. And how do you get them to be happy and smile rather than sad? It's not by like feeding them in-game tokens, but by providing them better service, by making sure your contact is on point, making sure all these metrics are hit, which we'll get into in a little bit. But this is what our dashboard looks like. So now we talked about the 3 pillars. We can get into the first one, which is personification of data. I'm so sentimental. I love the idea of, I'm all about letting humans be humans and even letting something that's not human be human. And in that way, I mean, like just adding kind of a sentimental connection to it in technology. And obviously 3D design is a great way to pull that out and to add sentimentality and emotion to something. And that's what we try and do here with Empava. So reading and analyzing a spreadsheet or a client report doesn't come naturally to most of us, but seeing and interpreting a smiling face or an angry client does. As humans, that's just the way we're built. That's the way we're wired, is to know, is to read faces, to read facial cues, to know that happy face is good, sad face should be bad, should be sad. And so with Empava, we're kind of hijacking this like evolutionary trait and using that for better optimized work performance with our client and account managers. So making client data not only more visual, but more human allows for easy to digest, easy to interpret data and assessments for everyone involved at a moment's glance. So my background, I guess I should have said this earlier, but I was a client management, client success manager for a tech startup previously before leaving to found this company. And so part of my job was I had 50 clients to make sure they're happy with our service, make sure they're not going to cancel, they're going to renew, everything is great. So I'd send out emails when they, every couple of weeks to make sure they're happy, schedule monthly calls, and put out any fires. And then I had a director above me. So every day I'd have a meeting with him in the morning and in the evening before leaving at the end of the day. And he'd say, how's this client? How's this client? Because he didn't know the nitty gritty. He wasn't into the inside stuff. And then even above him, the company CEO, he especially didn't know the nitty gritty, of what was going on with all of our clients. He would never go into Salesforce or the spreadsheets. Of course, he was just too busy to go into the day-to-day. So he wouldn't know what's going on. And then eventually, if say a client canceled out of nowhere, well, for him, it would be out of nowhere. He would say, what happened, say, with Jeff from Amazon? He was our most important client. How'd that happen? So with this personification of data and using the visualization that is its 3D medium, we can really easily convey things really quickly. So instead of having let's say a CEO of a company have to dive into the weeds of a spreadsheet and see how clients are doing, how they're responding, it's one quick glance at the dashboard and saying, hey, Alex is happy, great. Or hey, what was it, Ben from Amazon, who's our most important client, is sad or angry. We got to fix that. So everyone now can see this data. And so it's taking all these metrics that we have, and we'll get into what these metrics look like, but it's taking all these metrics and turning them from kind of a cumbersome, overweight or overwhelming spreadsheet and putting them into something we can all understand, which is a happy or sad character. And not only for, say, the CEO or for the director, but the entire company can share in the wins and rally around fixing the things that need to be fixed. So if we just signed Ben from Amazon and our whole company is, hey, that's awesome, we just got this client, we kind of forget things after the sale. Well, how happy, like in so many tech companies that I've been in and worked with, and if a company gets a big sale, the whole sales floor is clapping. But then what actually happens once you have them, we kind of lose that interest once they're actually a client. We stop celebrating how happy they are or stop fearing how sad they are because we just really almost care about the sale. What this does, it says, okay, we have, say, Ben from Amazon, but now the entire company easily at a quick glance can say, hey, Ben from Amazon is smiling, he's happy, we're doing a great job. Or, oh no, Ben from Amazon or Apple or whatever company you want to use in this example, say is angry or sad or lonely or something is going on. Now everyone sees this and we can all find a solution. Sure, it's the account manager's job first and foremost, but maybe the developer knows that there's a bug going on that we can rally around and fix, or something else that really, so we can, as a team, have team successes and challenges to overcome together. And that's all comes from this pillar of personification of data and utilizing this 3D visualization to look at these spreadsheets and data in an all new way. Okay, so let's see, data will talk to you if you're willing to listen to it. This was a fun quote I found online from a gentleman named Jim Bergeson. And I think it's absolutely true, but I thought what's one fun thing about what Empava is, we're not just hoping people know how to listen to the data, but we're basically giving the people a translator. Not everyone can listen and decode data. So with Empava, by converting that data into these human avatars, ideally we're all now, decoders of data and can all listen. So that's one way we're changing the way we look at things. So effective computing. Effective computing is another pillar, is the second pillar we're going to talk about. Effective computing is the study and development of systems and devices that can recognize, interpret, process, and simulate human effects. It's an interdisciplinary field spanning computer science, psychology, and cognitive science. This was kind of a fancy way of saying it's a way of making computers more human and making human interaction with computers more intuitive and empathetic. It's kind of a newer term as the gaps between kind of technology and computer interactions and human behavior get closer and closer. But it's something that we're really big believers in with Empava, and we think is a core tenet of what we're doing. Empava's digital avatars currently emote 6 different moods based on different relationship metrics and daily ebbs and flows. So these moods are depicted based on live metrics such as email cadence, bilateral response time, conversation sentiment, and meeting habits. This is kind of the lifeblood of Empava's whole system. If the moods aren't accurate, it's not going to be worth very much. It's not going to be very helpful. And based on how we're getting everything in an automated kind of synchronized fashion, no one metric is going to tell the entire story. Nothing can really be that whole fortune teller or like magic 8-ball that says exactly how a client feels. But what we found is through all these combined metrics, all the pieces together do a really great job of telling that story. Of course, still, we're not a fortune teller. I can't tell you that it's going to be 100% accurate, but we've gotten pretty close. And so some ways to be a little more specific is how we tell what a healthy client looks like for, say, a sad client, is how frequently are they responding to your emails? How frequently are you responding back? If you've forgotten to email them in a certain amount of time, that's going to lose points on your client health. If they're quick to respond and very responsive too, that's going to give you points. But of course, what's the content of the emails that they're saying? Are they responding in a very angry fashion or happy? So we also have natural language processing within these email synchronization. So we can see, is it a happy email? Is it an angry email? That's also going to affect your mood. Do you have monthly meetings set with them or weekly meetings? There's not to get too nitty gritty on this presentation, but there's sliders. So if we sign up a client for us and they say, hey, Dylan, it's really important that we talk to our clients, we're emailing them once a week, or we're emailing them once a month. Whatever that sensitivity is, we're going to be able to set how sensitive your avatar characters are going to be. So that's going to set how much attention or how little attention they're going to require to continue to grow and be happy. So that's effective computing. The one other thing is, and I did this job, so I can say this from experience, when I would get an email, say from a client that needed something, usually I would like to respond as fast as I could, but sometimes you just kind of get ahead of yourself or you get in the weeds or other things going on. It's kind of easy to just forget an email in your inbox. I think all of us, whether we've been in this kind of line of work or not, it's easy to kind of just overlook something like that email. You can even, if you get a text, a notification reminder, it's easy to just like hit that X and dismiss it. We can kind of forget that, out of sight, out of mind. But when you have a character that you've grown attached with, like one of these avatars, and it's connected to a real person, your point of contact at a company, it's really hard to kind of to ignore them or overlook them. When they're crying or sad or tapping their feet because they're waiting or begging for a response from you, you can't really hide that. And not only can you not hide that from yourself, but you can't hide it from your boss and your supervisor, for better or worse. So you're going to wonder, hey, Dylan, why is, say, Jan from Apple waiting on this response that hasn't come yet? So that's another way we kind of look at doing things. So our third and final pillar here is gamification of work. I love gaming. I love gamification. I used to be a camp counselor way back in the day, and I used it as a cheat sheet all the time to get my campers to do whatever they needed to do. I'd make games. If they were first one to make their bed in the morning would win a prize. Person who can go the longest without speaking during a lineup would win a prize. I thought it was really effective there, and obviously in a very different way, it continues to be very effective in the workplace. Especially now, I think the majority of people that are in the workforce have had some experience or other with video games or more accustomed to tools that we can implement. So we can kind of channel all the good things about gaming and all kind of almost the addictive behaviors that sometimes might not even be as healthy. We can kind of use it for good in building better, more healthier, more proactive relationships if we can hit the right buttons. By the way, this is kind of a non sequitur or a separate point, but Empava, just for kind of give you a hint of where all this is coming from, stands for empathy avatars, and we just smashed the two together because our whole goal through all this is bringing empathy to the workplace and doing that through these avatars and empathy through these relationship building. Okay, so let me read this real quick. Let's see how much time I have. So gaming, so gamifying client health with factors such as time to respond, time to resolve issue, etc., and rewarding users with impactful visualization like happy, smiling avatars, or punishing them with sad or distressed avatars allows Empava to incorporate effective traits of gamification. Additionally, numerous other in-app features add to Empava's gamification aspects. Think Tamagotchi for the workplace. I don't know how many of you have had experience with Tamagotchis back in the day, but in the 90s, it was this really fun little keychain toy that almost everybody had. At least they did, like when I was in elementary school. And this little pet that you had, and you would feed it, and it'd be happy. And if you didn't feed it, it'd be sad. And basically, we're taking that same kind of behavior, but turning that into our client relationships and our client accounts. So how do you feed that Tamagotchi in this case and make it happy? Is providing great service, emailing them in a quick fashion, fixing their bugs or issues. How do you make them sad? Is doing the opposite, kind of neglecting them, forgetting them, letting them stay with these issues that go unresolved. On top of that, we have a page here where you can kind of see client with highest score, client with low score. So this adds to the gamification. You see kind of how your client health has been over different periods of time. You kind of see a little stock ticker of like different moods going up and down. There's also a champion status. We have happy as one of the positive moods, and then above that is champion status, which is like a goal to unlock kind of, which you can only get if certain metrics are hit after a certain amount of time. So that is gamification of work here from a website called startkiwi.com that also is a big believer in gamification. Just grab this chart. I think hopefully if you've had experience with gamification, all of you are big believers in it, as I am. Of course, it has to be done right. No one wants to get too in the weeds with the game when you're trying to get work done. But if it's done right, here's a great chart that kind of just explains some ways in which it's really beneficial. Chart, I should say, graph for this image. Okay, so kind of ran through a lot of this, but that's the majority of Empava current use cases in this client management sphere. I come from the world of account and client management, so we're building this avatar-based CRM with that in mind, because that's, fight the battle first. But as we continue to grow, there's tons of other use cases for this kind of avatar-first way of looking at our digital relationships. For other examples, could be sales team management. If you're a manager of a sales team, you could assess how your team is doing. Student behavior, success monitoring. If I'm a parent and my student's at school and I want to see how he's doing while I'm not there, I could have a little student avatar version of him, or the teacher could have student avatars of their students. Elder care, if I have to put an elderly loved one in a nursing home, say, or I can't be around them, I can monitor their health or their behavior as an avatar version that the nursing home might provide. Patient care, if I'm a therapist or a doctor and I have many patients that I'm keeping track of, I can monitor patient health for my own sake with something like this. Freelance client management, I don't have to be a big company with Salesforce. I can manage my own freelance clients in a simplified version of our product. Employee monitoring, just in general, see employee attentiveness. These are all ways we can potentially grow with Empava. So if any of you guys have any other ideas or suggestions, please feel free. I'm always happy to listen. But this kind of concludes where we are. So summary and conclusion. Based on the core pillars of personification, effective computing, and gamification of work, visualizing data and client relationships through 3D avatars look to improve engagement, client relationships, and shared team insights. So where we are also, we're a young company. We went through our first accelerator this summer, and we're currently in beta with some pilot clients. So we're still pretty fresh, but we're really, we've learned a lot. We've had some great responses. We're really excited to kind of hopefully be at the frontier of a lot of this avatar and 3D first client insights and relationship building. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and say thank you guys for listening. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast.
Thank you very much, Dillan. Thank you for this very comprehensive and great presentation. So it's very impressive. We have already 2 or 3 questions for you. May I ask you, Dillan, if you see them in the chat window?
Yeah, let me just take a look and read them. How do you view the service delivery as a function of service agreement or warranty claims as a product guarantee and warranty? If your client agreed to send you product use system messages and telemetry, how do you interpret it and juxtapose your engagement and counter? Okay, this is a great question, and if I can't answer it, it's a good question to have because it means I need to learn how to answer it for my own sake. Let's see. How do you view the service delivery as a function of service of agreement or warranty claims as a function of product? So this isn't the avatars that we're building is new territory, but as far as like client health metrics and client success, that's not new territory. And I think companies understand that they're, if I understand your question right, is you're saying how can we kind of guarantee what these moods are acting like and if it's accurate and if how this goes. So I'll say that they kind of know that there is no guarantee. It's just like everyone is looking for an edge in technology. And you know, they know that we do the best we can. I don't know that's a great enough answer. I'll have to probably think about this a little more because it is a great question, but that's what I'd say for now. If I can move on to, let's see, for this is from appeals for the vision side, client face would not help. I suspect some people may respond even more diligently if the avatar was a puppy or even a plant. By using a plant, there are a lot more visual clues than you can use to represent the mood state. But really, have you considered other non-human avatars? Yeah, non-human avatars, that's a great question. So our current plan is we're still building this feature is to kind of have an API linked with LinkedIn, because we have the clients already synced to Salesforce and other places. So we kind of can look at a profile picture on LinkedIn and automatically kind of arrange a avatar based on their appearance. So our goal initially was to make the avatar look closely to resemble the point of the contact. But with that comes a whole other kind of dangerous situation if you get it wrong and there's like kind of something they're not happy with the way they've been created. I will say that the clients themselves don't see this. It's just one side. So this is just for the account manager. But it is tricky because there is a whole, when it comes to like, what does a person look like? There's just, you know, with like different racial issues and like skin color and things, you don't want to really get that wrong. So currently we're playing around with just like giving everyone say blue skin or something, or safe, where it's just like, instead of going for accurate or true to life, just go the other direction. Puppies are also interesting. Or plants, but I think it is important to kind of to some extent have them be a visualization of the client themselves. Because if I have 50 clients, because again, as a manager, I'm still emailing this person, I'm calling them, I'm having meetings with them. So if I can see them as this like 3D visualization of that person, it will really help sync this avatar that I see with the real person, and then increase the kind of the connection and the impetus to build that relationship. It's interesting though to see if a sad face wouldn't help. That's something that maybe we'll have to do, like get further, you know, experience on or further studies on. But that's good feedback. Tamagotchi, that stuck to me when you started with your first slide. Amazingly creative. Cool. So hopefully I try to answer those. Let's see if William, if you have any clarification, if you want to ask something, follow up. Happy to dive in. Do you allow for creating your own networks and parameters? Blue skin, yellow skin is perceived as white. Perhaps the plan is better. So we could allow for creating our own avatars eventually, but the one issue we kind of want to get away from is when we're selling this to clients about increasing work productivity. If this is too heavy on like the avatar and game aspect, they're going to shy away. Because if I have 50 clients, say this account manager has 50 clients that they're onboarding, and each client needs to be like customly made in a custom manner, it's going to take away a little too much time from the day-to-day tasks. So by just having everything instantly like imported and automated, it just makes for just an easier sell and an easier kind of way to go from these spreadsheets that they're used to the avatars. Okay, reading Williams. Sorry?
Your questions.
Oh yeah, sure. So changes constant. How does the interface account or illustrate the turnover of the client for the account? Do you see progress of the recent past for the same account? If I'm reading right, when you say same account, William, that's another good question. If you're saying like point of contacts on the account, so say if Amazon is my account, most of the time I don't just have one guy like Ben from Amazon, right? This whole deal, there's 10 people that might be related to the account. And maybe Ben is my main point of contact, but throughout the relationship, I could be talking to 5 others. So how we do that is within the account, each each account actually has like different clickable people. So it comes from Salesforce, so automatically has all the account like holders listed, and then I can change from Tom to someone else. We actually have a feature where if you're not getting anywhere with, say, Ben, he's like not emailing you or responding, a big strategy within client success and account management is to find someone who's more receptive in the company. So we have a feature where you can go from, say, Ben to somebody else. Also, a lot of clients, people you talk to might not be the decision makers. So you might have someone who's super happy, you're doing a great job, but when it comes to signing the deal, actually it's someone else who's not very happy. So we also can know who's the decision maker and who's important to make happy. Okay, let's read about this. Wouldn't it be too distracting and hard to link the avatar to the client if it is too different from the appearance? Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, these are all definitely things to consider. And I think it's a fun challenge. That's one of the challenges when you're trying to marry data and kind of this like static, sterile kind of language into these like very visual, very 3D ways of doing things. So we just have to find like that the perfect kind of middle ground to be in. Sort of plans for customer engagement, Cactus. I love it. Yeah, that's a great idea, Carol. For me, I think the big thing is having it very human and being like this human aspect of connecting the human to the real world human. But I think it's totally it's a great idea to kind of go and potentially in a different way if it gets to be too like troublesome or problematic.
So thank you again, Daniel. It's very, very interesting topics, and your solution is very, very promising. So thank you again. I propose you that we can applause a little bit because it was a very nice presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So it's great to be a part of the conference.
Thank you very much. So let's switch to our last presenter. So I will call Frederic Bussiere. So a few words of introduction. So you are co-founder and CTO of Bublr. So let's correct, of course, if I pronounce well the name of your company. And
yeah, Bublr, yeah.
Bublr, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So you will present your solution. So I think it's a very trendy one. So I don't say the word. So I let you say it. So please, Frederic.
Yeah, this is okay. Actually, hi everyone. Thank you for having us at the Web3D for this paper. I am Frederic Bussiere. I'm the CTO of Bublr. Bublr is a virtual office solutions for companies working with remote teams, and our focus is about enhancing company culture and employees' well-being. So what's going to be the program for this paper? So first, the future of work. Then we're going to talk about Bublr on the conceptual level, and then Bublr more like a more technical aspect. Okay, let's jump in. So what are we talking about when we talk about the future of work? Are we talking about this?
Cohen, how's it hanging?
It's Cohen, Mr. Jovi. And as was told you before, it isn't hanging at all well. We're dying.
Are we talking about that?
Send a DCPD blue and white. Set up a perimeter and tell them we're en route.
Investigator from the feds here.
Yeah, I don't need some twink from the Fed poking around right now.
John, I wrote it down on your calendar. I left you a message at your house.
Check in with the papers they had it forwarded. See if the neighbors knew where they went. Check all relations.
Checking neighbors and relations.
But John.
Fletch, just get him some coffee.
Why are we talking about that?
Arthur.
Galahad. The others were beginning to wonder if we were going to have a double toast. Gentlemen, I'm thankful to say it's been 17 years since we last had occasion to use this decanter.
Yes, I think we're talking about remote collaboration. So how did it start? Well, COVID happened, right? And we all worked from home. Working remotely is not something like just new. It was already existing like before COVID for both remote working as well like remote learning and as well like virtual events. But now this trend has been more visible thanks to COVID. So we all work from home and yeah, we like it. We have a flexible schedule, flexible location, we can work from everywhere. We have no commuting time, so we save time and there's no pollution, amazing. And we have more time for family, and so we can go pick up the kids at school and stuff like that. So now as the COVID is fading away. It's time for us to go back to the office. But we want to keep this advantage, right? So what are the advantages for companies? First, on average, it's been proven that employees working from home work more hours. As well, there's a reduction of office space. We don't need as big offices as before, so it means like lower rent. You can go up to $1,000 per employee per month. And in terms of recruitment, is much more interesting. We're not limiting ourselves to the city, but we can recruit like on the national or international level. Everything looks great, right? But there's many downsides. Okay, first, for employees, there's a confusion between work time and personal time, right? And this is not good for the personal well-being. As well, we have an increase of burnouts. If they are single and they work at home, no one is able to notice them. In terms of network, we tend to prioritize the close network, but we're losing our distant network. As well, there's more competition from other cities or other countries, right? Imagine your company is based in France and they adapt to remote working. Well, now they can hire in France, but maybe they can hire somewhere else in a country in development to cut costs, right? So this is a danger for employees from first world countries. And as well, the downsides for companies. Well, a big one is like the loss of company culture. Let's say you have a new employee. You want to introduce him to the different colleagues and sort of see the vibe of a company, but you cannot do that anymore if you just do a regular video conference. As well, the turnover is much higher because if people don't feel involved in a company, if someone asks them, oh, do you want to work for us just for €100 more? You can be like, yeah, sure, because I have no attachment to my company. Another thing is like the loss of trust between employees. You never know who is working. You start to doubt. We don't see them working. Another thing is like the unequal access to information. If someone is in the office during like a few days during the week and the other one is working from home, he won't be able to access the same way the information, and this is complicated on a long term. As well, we have a low serendipity, which is basically a low chance to have happy encounters. It means we won't have two people running to each other in a corridor and just say, oh, how is it going? And then talk about the project and then maybe solving a problem just because they mention it. Now everything is being scheduled on an online meeting. If it's not fitting this online meeting, it won't be talked about. So it's pretty bad for creativity and innovation in general. So why are we having all these problems? It's because like the organization of companies have been done around the physical office. So how are we tackling this? How are we embracing remote working? Because remote working could be a great thing. So this is where Bublr arrives. So Bublr is a virtual office solutions for companies working either in remote or hybrid work. Let me show you our promo video. That's the best way for you to understand what we're doing.
Hi Jess.
Good morning.
Hi Bob.
Hey.
See you at the meeting in 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. I'll see you there.
Morning, morning.
Morning.
Amir, remind me that we have to talk about the prototype after the meeting.
Yes, sure.
Hey guys, sorry I'm a little late.
Okay everyone, let's start the meeting.
Thank you. I will share with you our latest data. Here is the graph for 2021.
You wanted to discuss about the prototype?
Yes, Amir, I have some concern about the design. Obviously, she raised some good inputs. Come with me. Good morning, Lee. I would like to introduce you to Amir, the head of the dev team. Could you have a look at the design and give him some recommendation, please?
Yes, no problem.
Great. I'll let you discuss together. I need to catch up with Jess.
See you.
See you.
Bublr offers customizable and realistic offices for like a better distinction between work time and personal time. As well, there's a higher illusion of real. So this is directly linked to emotional memory and the moment you spend with your colleagues in a space which looks like real, right? Even if it's virtual. Also, it's much better for B2B and HR, right? You bring a client or you bring a potential new talent, they can see what's going on in the office. They can see the vibe. This is a great plus. And so this virtual space is a unique workspace for all. It gives equal access to the information, That's easier for management because you can see people like physically working. You can see where they are and what they're doing, and that make a stronger trust between colleagues and as well like between employees and managers. As well, we allow like informal discussions because we have the same the virtual coffee machine or the virtual water fountain. Employees will be able to meet and have discussion as they used to do before, talk about their kids, for example, and this will create a stronger social network inside the company. As well, because we can see each other in a more informal way, there's less chance for burnouts, because if you see your colleague not feeling well, you can spot it right away. Also, as I was just mentioning before, we allow like impromptu meetings. So we have a coffee machine, we can discuss about a subject, and this is very good for creativity and innovation in general. All right, so how does it work on the technical level? So we try to be as inclusive as possible, which means it's browser-based. There's no need to install anything. That works on Chrome for now, and hopefully soon on all navigators when they will just upgrade themselves to the latest tech. That works on all computers, so I mean even a very slow computer, it's working on it. So for that, we're using Babylon.js as a real-time 3D engine. We picked this one because it's reliable. It's compatible with AR and VR that we are developing next year. Also, there's a very strong community behind it, which is very important for us. If there's like a bug or a new feature we want, we can discuss with them, and usually within a few days we get an answer and maybe a fix. As well, like Babylon.js is web GPU ready, which means like very soon, early next year, the browser would allow us to use the full capability of a graphic card, and it's going to help us to have better graphics, more realistic. Finally, Babylon follows the standard of GLTF for 3D objects, which means like every designer can design a 3D environment and use it on our platform. So early next year, we're going to launch a marketplace where every designer will be able to post their 3D and be able to sell them. Here is a quick demo about Babylon.js for the one who doesn't know about it. Alright, so this was about a future of work and Bublr, but what's beyond this, right? Well, just to open the debate, I guess we can try to imagine what's going to be, right? So everyone's working from home, so they can work from everywhere. So maybe people in big cities, they're going to move to smaller towns or maybe cheaper countries. Potentially, we're going to see more digital nomads everywhere, people like traveling and working at the same time. A third point would be Starlink. Maybe you heard about it. This new network of satellites would allow you to have a high speed and low latency, which is necessary for a video conference. And I think this is a great deal because now we can really work from everywhere. And when we started Bublr, I had this image in my head, and this is like my personal dream. Well, thank you for listening until here. Please try our platform. It's free to use for now, bublr.co. We are starting as well, like next month, a beta testing program. We're going to onboard a couple of companies. We're going to use Bublr for free in exchange of quality feedback. So that will help us to build the next features hand in hand with these companies. So if you're interested to be part of it, just contact me on fred@bublr.co, and we can discuss about the conditions. And now I'm very happy to listen to your questions.
Thank you very much, Frederic. So let's have a look to our chat window. So we see that Marco is reminding that it's still possible to have some Q&A, I will say, in an asynchronous way. So after the session, may I ask you, our attendees, if you have any questions for Frederic? So I see the first one. So I don't know, Frederic, if you see the chat window.
Yeah, a question about if it's only limited to Office. Well, the starting point is like Office, but actually we can be hosting events. We've been already developing like an art gallery for an NFT installation. Right now, the platform is being used during the American Film Festival, like for movie producers, like featuring their movies. So I guess the Office is the starting point, and that's the biggest market. But the technology can be applicable for everything, from casual to more like event oriented. Yeah, I was asking a question about the art gallery. Yeah, so basically like in the space, but we are allowed people to customize it, so you get closer, let's say, to a canvas, and you can just change the images, etc. So basically like an art gallery, even there's like empty like frames everywhere. You can just change the whole space as you like. And if you want actually to go further in the customization, you can either make your own like 3D model or work with us to design your own office. What we are doing actually with this few companies I was mentioning for the beta testing. They want their own office, so we're designing for them to tailor-made exactly as they like. What's the equivalent of a coffee machine? Or you mean like a virtual equivalent? I don't know. In the States, like the water cooler. Yeah, actually the name comes from that. Actually, Bublr is like the name I've been hearing in New York when we call for the water cooler. Well, I guess in the it's about like interior design. So in our case, it's like a virtual interior design. So how we place the different like offices, or how we place like the different individual booth. So when people leave a meeting or go from one place to another, they can casually meet. This is already like what has been done in real offices, like how to manage the flow based on when people are being in the office, etc. So we're doing the same approach actually for the virtual space. Yeah. If I answer the question.
So I have my own question. So Frederic, so, I'm working for EDF, you know, the Electricity of France, and especially the nuclear engineering entity. And that's true that sometimes we are working more and more with teams, especially. And yes, we have seen, I will say, after 2 years, all the advantages, and you're right, there are some drawbacks too. So my question is, my own work was about how we can collaborate around 3D models. And sometimes in engineering, the 3D models are quite complicated, quite complex by themselves. Are you already, I will say, investigating this kind of use cases to have teams of engineers trying to investigate a mechanical design issue on 3D models, perhaps in the future, the famous digital twin?
Yeah. I mean, actually, that's how we started the first play, going to like a platform which is like a full 3D and not 2D, because I mean we can like embed like we can load like a 3D object in the scene, and we can just all be around and discuss about it. So we are on the platform for now. We use like just like a standard like format, and we are as well discussing with partners for like more advanced like 3D, like more like mechanical ones. So ideally, in your case, I can clearly see a bunch of engineers all around and having a 3D object which is as well animated, and people like pinpointing and collaborating around this. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Frederic. There is a last question.
What was the event and what was the response? Yeah, so we did a couple of events. It was like a month ago. We did a hackathon for like NASA, for like the city of Cairo. So basically, like there was like a couple of days when individual groups was like discussing on the platform, and after they were presenting in front of a jury. So we designed it like like a physical space, sorry, like virtual space was like floating in the atmosphere with like a view of Earth, and there was about 700 users in the same time on the platform. And as well, like we're doing now, our second like film festival. We did like a Cannes festival this summer. So same for like a movie producer wanted to feature these different movies. Yeah, that's pretty much it for now. And hopefully new events coming soon. Yeah, in terms of response from response from users, I would say for first users, usually they're surprised, especially for the people from the film festival, because attending like called festival or summit is like, of course, is learning, talking about like business, etc. But it as well as like sharing a moment. And I know like these guys doing film festival, they love like the after festival when it's on the beach or in the bar and cheering with like partners and making something like a strong and human like a connection. And when we recreated these 3D scenes about the film festival, we tried to get the vibe. So sort of sunset, palm trees and all of that. So yeah, they clearly like these connections, this experience on the platform. So that was mostly like the good feedback we got on that. And as well, yes, sort of like when you have a Zoom meeting like now, we can memorize like the moment we have, but we don't have like a visual memory because it's sort of a grid with names. But when we're on the platform, we work on the like the visual memory. Oh yeah, I was in this place. It looked like Cannes, or it looked like Santa Monica, like for this week. And the memories like doesn't work the same way. So we really try to create the illusion of like a real moment spent with people. So as well on the platform, we try to push with quite good quality graphics. That was last question.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So cool, man. I loved everything I saw that. So is your intention also not just like for certain meetings and like kind of coming in the morning, but if I'm like at my desk for say like 60 hours just doing my own work on my computer, but if I was in a real office, I might have my coworker at the desk next to me. We're not talking the whole time, but we're just next to each other. Is your intention that we still be in the environment and like with our cameras and mics on during our own like solo work, just to feel like it's a real place?
Yeah, correct. So based on bit on the policy of a company, but we imagine every employee can have their own like little booth, or maybe by a group of like 3 or 4. And each time there's a new employee, we can just modify the 3D space as well.
Yeah.
And you're on your little office in the morning. You open like our platform in one of the tab of Chrome, and when you're just working on something else, of course we cut the video and your mic, but you can still hear some of the ambient sound. So if someone just come to your office and talk to you, say, "Hey Dillan, do you have a minute just to talk about something?" You just come back to the platform. You're already connected, and you have this like more easy talk instead of like scheduling a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yeah, to recreate that. So because I think like, especially like colleges and stuff, when you can get away with like turning your camera and your mic off, people just like to, because it's more secure to like not have it on. Is there something you do to encourage people or discourage people from like turning the mic and the camera off in general?
Well, like the sound, like in the platform is spatial, so it's not like here when everyone can listen at me. Like in our case, it's like because when I'm physically close to you, you can hear me, you can talk to me, but when I get further, like in real, like unless I shout, you can't hear me.
That's great.
So we try to reproduce like the real like human like behaviors. Yeah, that's our approach for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
So I would like to thank you very much, Frederic, for this great presentation and for all these answers that you have shared about this question. So thank you very much, and I think you can have some applause, you too.
Thank you for having us.
So we are close to the end of this session. So I would like again to thank all our presenters today. So thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Dillan. Thank you, Frederic, for your presentation. It was very comprehensive. Thank you for all your answers to the questions of our attendees. And I think you give a great view of what is today feasible and achievable with Work3D technologies. So thank you again to have submit your presentation to this session. And we hope that we will have a lot of great news about your work and your solution. So thank you again. So I think we could let the floor to the next session. So to be sure, I will share the